Thunderbolts Asterisk, or The New Avengers, has proven to be one of the most unique entries in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to the delight of critics and audiences alike. Not only did the movie give already introduced but underutilized MCU characters their time to shine, but it also introduced a character who may turn out to be one of the most consequential to upcoming films. That is Bob, otherwise known as Sentry, otherwise known as Void, who is both a protagonist and antagonist in the film. Before helping bring Thunderbolts' asterisk box office success, Sentry was introduced as a Marvel Comics character in 2000 via a miniseries written by Paul Jenkins and illustrated by Jal Lee. He's a unique superhero not because of his admittedly overwhelming powers, but because he is a character constantly in a battle with himself. For that reason, stories like Thunderbolts Asterisk that center on Sentry often tackle themes of mental health and self-perception, which, in the MCU's case, provided a much-needed breath of fresh air. Screen Rant's Joe Deckelmeyer spoke with Sentry co-creator Paul Jenkins about the character's exciting journey from page to screen. Jenkins weighed in on what Thunderbolts Asterisk is right about Sentry, what the character means to him, and how the character's flaws were key to the film. Screen Rant's Thunderbolts Asterisk review called Exactly What the MCU Needs. Plus, Jenkins shared what kinds of conversations he had with actor Lewis Pullman about getting Bob right in the MCU's latest. Sentry is a unique character in Marvel's world, but he's also one born from a rich tradition of complex heroes and anti-heroes. It's not a unique story in some ways, right? Paul Jenkins said about the duality of the character, that's Jekyll and Hyde, isn't it? It's about the duality of the human condition, and I think we all have these sides. In Jenkins' mind, some of the best superheroes were created in such a way that their power was their problem. I had written a Hulk before, Jenkins said, and I always thought his power was his problem. I think that what's really great in character creation and development is you can take the side of it that doesn't work for them. As much as Sentry in all his glory is a Superman-type character, Jenkins said, it's not good because his power is his problem. And he said, that kind of thing is a story that I think we can all relate to. Jenkins also expected the mental health aspect of Sentry's story to resonate, saying, I think we can all relate to the fact that there are good days and bad days. And even if viewers and readers aren't on mental health journeys, I'm sure that we have a family member who is dealing with it. I just felt that there wasn't a single person that would ever see the Sentry that wouldn't say, I see myself or my understanding in that character. Sentry was created and written in part to explore themes of mental health and the drawbacks of power, but he also was meant to mirror the journey of the comics industry as a whole. It was a very specific thing that we did, actually, Jenkins shared. When I created the character, I had looked at the way that comic history had gone, and if you think about it, back in the 40s and 50s, it was sort of like, throw something against the wall, see what sticks. Around the 60s and 70s, Jenkins continued, it became much more experimental. You could have hippies and flower powers, and all that kind of stuff. In the 80s, it became very realistic, with Alan Moore and people like him that wrote these realistic takes on characters. With Frank Miller in the 90s, it got a little tough. It got a little nasty. Then there were chromium covers and stuff where it all falls apart, and in the 2000s, it was time for recovery. The addiction that you might have with, say, heroin, mirrors the evolution of comics. You take it, you experiment, you come down to earth, things get nasty, and then you recover. So Sentry was meant to mirror the whole evolution of comics. It's taken 25 years for Sentry to make the transition from page to MCU character, a length of time that's actually short compared to most of his peers. The Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, debuted in 1969. Not only was Jenkins around to see the adaptation happen, but he helped ensure it was done the right way. I was very lucky to work with Jake Schreier and a couple of other creative producers. He said, "It was very gratifying to me that Jake had cared very much about our conversations and what I brought to it." The creator also shared his experience meeting Lewis Pullman, who played Bob/Sentry/Void in Thunderbolts*, after the movie was done. "He was a lovely guy," Jenkins said, "and when I met him, we began to talk a little bit about staying in touch and continuing the dialogue about what the Sentry meant and what it would do." Jenkins revealed that Pullman told him, "I love being this person. This character speaks to me so much," and that he was interested in learning more about Sentry. Overall, the creator said, "I loved how they presented it. I love what Lewis has done with it. I thought the vulnerability of the character is really cool. I think people love the dynamic with his character and Florence Pugh's. So all in all, I don't see that I could be anything but happy." Jenkins also said he is still in touch with the film people, adding, "I was able to be part of that one. I hope I'm able to be part of Sentry in the future." Bob is a fascinating character because he contains not only the Sentry, but the Void, a destructive, nihilistic manifestation of Bob's inner struggles. But crucially to Paul Jenkins, "I've always felt that what we did was not just shoehorn in, it's good versus bad. That was never the case. I think when he was the Sentry, there was an undercurrent that it was dangerous, and when he was Void, there was an undercurrent that there might be something else there." Although Jenkins said Lewis Pullman may be better qualified to speak to the inner workings of Bob as he appears in Thunderbolts*, he did address what he believed that character's internal struggle to be in the movie. "When the Void is punishing him, and when he is the Void, to me, that's the aspect of himself that represents a lack of self-forgiveness. He will not forgive himself. He won't forgive himself for his survivor's guilt. He won't forgive himself for standing up to his father and his mom telling him off. He can't forgive himself, because how can you go back in time to forgive yourself as a little kid when you had no opportunity to do so?" Jenkins continued, adding, "And so, no matter what it is that's created this trauma in him, the trauma of his family, a chemical imbalance, a mental health issue of some other kind, the Void, is the part that he refuses to forgive himself for, and because he has that self-loathing and that lack of forgiveness of self, it manifests as the Void." Speaking of that future, Jenkins didn't give away any details. "Let me tell you the end of the story I might write," he joked. But he did discuss the Thunderbolts*, post-credits, and what he believes would resonate in terms of writing and showing the character in the future. One thing that's really cool about that post-credit scene, by the way, is that Bob is actually sitting there reading a self-help book, which is really cute. He's reading Rick Rubin's The Creative Act. That scene is a good indication of Schreier's understanding of Bob, and it's that understanding that Jenkins hopes carries forward to other MCU films. If you just look at him and say, "He's overpowered," I think you've got a problem right there, because that's not what the character is about, he shared. It has to be about, how can you overcome the challenges that are inside you to do something that you feel has merit? What's your sense of self-worth? All of those are the real story of Bob, and it doesn't ever change because he's overpowered or not. I hope that the main part of that interaction is the human story, the kind they put in Thunderbolts*, instead of, like, can he punch Dr. Doom harder than Dr. Doom can punch him? Now, that being said, it'd be pretty cool to see what happens. He's got the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, right? Jenkins also shared his original 3-part idea for the exploration of Bob as a character. There was always intended to be a trilogy, and the trilogy had levels. One was, how does it feel to find out you're really a superhero? Then, what does it mean to be a human dealing with this? And what does it mean to transcend humanity? I never really got to the 3, but the other side of it was always going to be like, how does he come awake? How does he stay awake? And the last part of it, the character part that I'm just so interested in writing, is what do you do when you are supposed to live, and you're being judged only as a thing? I think the interesting story to write about Sentry right now is, you are not your mental illness. If you suffer from one, that is not who you are.